Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Marcus Aurelius, and this is Dungeons & Dragons Baldur's Gate 2 Shadows of Am, the Enhanced Edition. Now, this is a bit different than what I usually do. It's very different from Dominions 4, but you know, we only grow if we try something new, and even though I look toward this with a bit of trepidation, as it is unusual for me, I'm hoping that it will turn out to be really cool. So, for those of you who are concerned, this will be kind of a side project of mine. It will not impact my main LP of Dominions, but I want to slowly move forward on it, and maybe if somebody were to look at this in the future, they'll see it through as a complete LP. So, that's my hope. For those who are either very young or have been hiding under a rock for many years, Baldur's Gate 2 is a game that was released in 2000 by BioWare. Well, the publisher was Black Isle Studios, the developer was BioWare, and it was based on the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition rules, and it takes place in the setting of the Forgotten Realms on the Sword Coast. There was a game that came before it called Baldur's Gate 1, and that game, to summarize the plot for those of you who aren't aware, in that game you start off in basically a library that's a castle. It's called Candlekeep, and you are an orphan. You have a foster father who is a mage named Wherein. But one night when you are, I suppose, either in your late teens or early 20s, a whole bunch of stuff hits the fan, and you and Wherein take off from Candlekeep because you feel like you're in danger. That same night, Wherein is killed by unknown powers. So you find yourself thrust into the middle of the Sword Coast, around the region of Baldur's Gate, which is a big city of that area, and throughout the course of the game, you achieve many quests, meet friends and enemies, and discover that the reason why Wherein was watching you in the first place was because you are one of hundreds, if not thousands, of children that the evil god of murder, Baal, had while he was walking the earth I'm not sure if he was immortal, but he was a physical entity as opposed to a god. This happened to all the gods. It was referred to as the Time of Troubles. So, as a child of Baal, you develop these powers, and it becomes rapidly apparent that it's almost like a Highlander type situation where all the children of Baal are locating each other and trying to defeat each other so that the one who remains will be able to take over for the dark god Baal, who's also known as the Lord of Murder. So, end result, in that game, you eventually confront probably one of the strongest contenders for that throne, a gentleman by the name of Saravok, who is your brother, technically, I guess, and you kill him. And that is where that game ends, and where this game, Baldur's Gate 2, begins. So, if you're interested at all in watching the first game, I'd highly recommend you do so before watching this, and a person whom I can recommend is a gentleman by the name of Kikoskia, who I link to over to the right in my about page of my YouTube channel. Kikoskia this is his genre. He does a lot of RPGs, and he's hilarious, and he did the whole game of Baldur's Gate 1 far better than I will be able to do with this one, I'm sure. So I highly recommend that you go and give him a look. Now, this game is assumed by many to be one of the best games ever made. Websites that were popular at the time, such as GameSpot, GameSpy, IGN, and Eurogamer, ranked it as Game of the Year. Many people claim it's the best RPG ever made. I dispute that. My favorite RPG, I believe, is Planescape Torment. I would say that this is probably my second favorite RPG, and that's another reason why I'm going to be playing it, because I want to see if the nostalgia lives up to what I've made it in my mind. And now that it's been almost, 15 years, let's see if it still stands up. So let's move forward, shall we? First, let's look at the options. Difficulty. Okay. I guess this means normal, and that's where I'm going to be keeping it. Normal. I'm not a power gamer. This is not going to be a power gamer playthrough. It's going to be for story and fun. Middle left. Okay. I guess that's it. The only thing lower than it is novice. All hit point rolls are maximum. Characters cannot permanently die. All spells learned automatically, and monsters are do 3/4 damage. So that seems about right to me. I'm not any better than that. Gore's fine. Group improvision's fine. Rest no healed. Yep. Okay. Alright. And since I've already played the introduction movie, I'm going to play it for you so that you can see it and get an idea of what is going on here.
You spent your youth in the library fortress of Candlekeep, under the kind tutelage of your foster father, Wherein. Imoen shared this home, a kindred spirit. Her background was as mysterious as your own. Wherein murder brought answers to your questions when his killer Saravak was revealed to be your brother. You and Saravak were a product of the time of troubles, a chaotic period when gods were made flesh and forced to walk the earth. One such deity foresaw his own death and walked the land before the cataclysm. He left a score of mortal offspring, intended to be the fuel for his rebirth. The god was Baal, Lord of Murder, and you are one of his children. Saravak sought a war of sacrifice to prove his worth, believing he could become the new Lord of Murder. You killed your brother, sending his taint back to Baal. You were the hero of Baldur's Gate, but some suspected you shared the same lineage as Saravak. You departed soon after, under circumstances much darker than anyone would have believed. They came as you rested, figures cloaked in mist that clouded your thoughts, blurring the lines between consciousness and dreaming. There was no malice or hatred, no mention of an old score, only quick capture and the promise of grim deeds to come.
So as you could see from that intro, this is going to be a very light and sunshiny game. And we just watched this. These are new characters to the Enhanced Edition. I believe they all come with the PC version, so we'll probably be bumping into one or two of them in the campaign. Okay, let me see if I can get this to work. Alright, there's Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius is pretty much what you would expect from the son of the god of murder. He is a lawful good paladin who will be basically getting every single kitten out of every single tree in Am and doing everything the gentlemanly kind way. I figure what a better way to honor the dead Lord of Murder than to go around doing really nice things for everyone. However, I did want to make some changes, and I'm wondering if they're not going to let me do that. Okay, well, what I was going to do is I was going to take a point from Charisma and give it to Constitution, but you know what? Whatever. The reason I took this role is because it gave me a strength of 18/00, which is the highest strength you can get, and a dexterity of 18, which makes it very hard to hit my character. The reason I chose this is because in the latter half of the game, I'm going to be wielding two-handed swords. And in that sense, you want high dexterity because you don't have a shield. Now, the reason I wanted to kind of go back and fix things a little bit is I wanted to start him off actually with flails and sword and shield, and then move on to two-handed sword later. But apparently I'm not going to be able to do that, so we'll figure it out. Axe is here because the class I have chosen, which is a paladin but is a kit called a cavalier, cannot use ranged weapons. So the reason I have axe is because you can use a throwing axe, and that'll be my ranged weapon. There's actually a magical throwing axe, I believe, in the game, or more than one, that returns to your hand after you throw it. So that will be Marcus's ranged weapon. To let you know right off the bat, I'm not playing just the vanilla enhanced edition. I've thrown in some mods. I've thrown in the banter pack, the two different banter packs actually. The specific names of them I don't recall, but I will put links to them in the information of this video. I'm also using what's called the Imoen Friendship Pack, and what that basically does is there's a character in the game called Imoen. She's your sister, basically. You take her from the first game, and what that does is just adds a lot of dialogue options to build a friendship between you and her that don't appear in the actual game. So I've never seen any of this stuff, but I hear it's really great and adds a lot of cool interactions and fun things to the game, so I've added both of those. I've also added the Baldur's Gate tweak pack, which is like 100 different tweaks. I didn't enable all of them, but I did enable quite a few of them, and I suppose to explain to you what I'm doing, I'll have to give a few spoilers. So if you're not interested at all in spoilers, my recommendation is to stop now and move on to the next video. But for those of you who kind of want to know what my goal is and what I'm going to be playing for here, in my previous playthroughs, when I was a young man, I had a good party and I explored the romance trees. You can have romances with certain characters, and I explored the romance trees with Aerie and Jahira, two of the characters. So in this playthrough, I want to explore the tree with this character called Viconia, who is an evil drow cleric. And the only way that I could keep her in my party, being as I'm going to be a lawful good paladin going around, as I said, rescuing every kitten from every tree and helping every old lady cross every street, is to throw in a tweak that means that she'll never leave the party. Because in the vanilla game, she would leave the party if your reputation gets too high. So that's one of the tweaks. The reason I'm pursuing this course is because I've been led to believe that if you are persistent with it, eventually you can convince her to not be evil. And I feel that my character would very much want to do something like that, to triumph over evil, not only by the sword, but by causing one of your companions to rethink their life philosophy and become, well, not good, I suppose, but neutral instead of evil. So that's one of my main goals for this LP. And yep, this color scheme is the one I chose. And I believe I'm male 4.
To battle and victory.
Maybe?
I will strive to lead responsibly.
Yeah, that's it. Male 4. Okay, and my name is Marcus Aurelius. Now, I actually had some thoughts about this because in some instances it doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, you'll have someone say, "What do you think, Marcus Aurelius?" And it's just, you know, obviously they should say Marcus. I wish this game had an option where you can set a first name and a last name, and either one of them or both of them can be used in appropriate situations. But I figure at the end of the day, let's just go with Marcus Aurelius, because when you're introducing yourself, it's like, well, who are you? I don't want to say I'm Marcus. I want to say I'm Marcus Aurelius. So that's how we're going to do it. And maybe in some private conversations between friends, it's not going to make a lot of sense, but so be it. And that's that. So when I click the accept button, the game itself is going to start. That will be my next episode. Once again, I just want to say that I am not a power gamer. I am not going to be playing this as a power gamer. I am not going to be going down every single side quest and taking on every single item. I'm just going to play it for story and for fun. And that's going to be my goal here. That means I'm not going to pick necessarily the strongest party, but what I consider to be an interesting party. And hopefully that will not only interest and excite me, but will also be fun to watch and be interesting for you as well. So thank you very much for watching. Have a good one.